All right, everybody, welcome to the Bald Eagle Podcast. I am Shawn Cressman. I am the Bald Eagle. The Bald Eagle Podcast is on Philly Sports Alliance, and it is 100% Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, we would talk about other teams in the conference if it affects the Eagles, so we do sometimes, but we are 100% Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Now, I mentioned we're part of the Philly Sports Alliance. An official sponsor of Philly Sports Alliance is La Terrain watches. So check them out. If you use code PSA, you'll get a discount. I think it's 20% off. I'm not sure, but it's scrolling at the bottom there for you. All right. The Bald Eagle Podcast has 3 rules that we stick to stringently. All right. Those 3 rules are: number 1, most importantly, no politics. I do not like I don't want to talk politics. I don't want to hear politics. We don't talk about that at all. So now we may bring up politics if it is, so because we're 100% Philadelphia Eagles, if it impacts the Eagles, we may talk about it. And we kind of dipped our toes into politics, not that I wanted to, but we kind of dipped our toes into it when COVID happened, right? So we sort of talked a little bit about it, but other than that, we avoid it like the plague. We don't want anything to do with it. Number 2, no personal information. I don't share any personal stories about me, and I don't talk about personal stories of the players. I could care less. When Fox cuts off to those shows and tells us how people grew up or things they did in the community, I mean, that's all good, but I have no interest, so I don't share that stuff with you guys either. And I'm not censored. I say whatever the fuck I want. Now, the Bald Eagle Podcast is your place for the most in-depth play-by-play analysis of all regular season and postseason games. I do play-by-play. I recap each play. I highlight things that happened. We focused a lot 2 years ago on Carson Wentz, all his mechanics, how they got poor over the season. Jalen Hurts, we talked about how he did really well at the first 6 games of his rookie year, and then how he kind of slumped over the last year. So you'll only find that stuff here. Okay, the Bald Eagle Countdown. We are counting down to training camp. That is the next major event that occurs. Now, we don't have exact dates, but we have a pretty safe way to estimate them. I believe it's going to be on or around July 26th. So we're looking at about 69 days, which is a coincidence for a number, because normally I'm on Wednesdays, right? I'm on today because of some conflicts I had. So training camp should be on or around July 26th, or should start that way. The way I figured that out is teams that start their season on a Thursday or Sunday can have their veterans report no earlier than 47 days before their first game. The teams that start their season on a Monday can have their veterans report no earlier than 48 days before their first game. The 2 teams that play in the Hall of Fame game can have their veterans report 15 days before that game. So basically what that means is Jacksonville and the Raiders report no earlier than Wednesday the 20th. The Rams and Buffalo report no earlier than Saturday, July 23rd, and all remaining teams cannot report any earlier than Tuesday, July 26th. Last year, that was July 27th, and the majority of teams, I think every team, including the Eagles, started their training camps on the 27th. Now, rookies can report up to 7 days before veterans, so we might see some of the rookies come in early. Generally, they come in, but there's not actually any skills. They just kind of go over playbooks and stuff like that. We have joint practices, I mentioned, with the Browns this year at their practice complex in Berea, Ohio. We'll also be holding joint practices with the Miami Dolphins in South Florida. That's a new one. And right before we play them in the preseason game on the 27th of August. And now, if you remember last year, our coaching staff took the joint practices more seriously than the preseason games. In fact, we had some pretty shitty preseason games on the fan level because we didn't get to see very many players because they practice and work so hard in those joint practices. So that may be the case again. I'm not sure, but we'll see. The next date we're looking forward to is August 4th through 7th. That's Hall of Fame weekend in Canton, Ohio. And that features the first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, Thursday, August 4th. The Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders against the Jacksonville Jaguars at 8 p.m. Then begins preseason. Now, today's show, while we counted down to the we're counting down to training camp. Today's show is all about the schedule release, right? Really exciting. Last Thursday, a week ago, they announced the full schedule. We knew who we were going to play. We just didn't know in what order and who was home. And we knew home and away as well. So I'm going to go over the schedule that includes preseason. So week 1 of the preseason is Friday, August 12th, and we go against the Jets at home at 7:30. Week 2, Sunday, August 21st at Cleveland at 1 p.m., and week 3 of the preseason, Saturday, August 27th at Miami, and that's at 7 p.m. And all preseason games will be aired on NBC 10 and radio station 94 WIP. All right, let's get to the regular season, right? Exciting. A couple of exciting things happen, and this is one of them. So the NFL kicks off regular season Thursday, September 8th, Buffalo at the Los Angeles Rams at 8:20 p.m. Week 1, we play on Sunday at Detroit. September 11th at 1 p.m. As far as Detroit's concerned, I don't think this is going to be a real tough game. They haven't made many improvements since they were 3-13 and 1 last year. Now Jared Goff and head coach Dan Campbell are in their second year, so perhaps there's an improvement, but I don't expect anything significant. Week 2, we're going to get tested. Week 2, we're at home. It's our home opener versus the Minnesota Vikings, and it's Monday Night Football, September 19th, 8:30 p.m. They have a new head coach in Kevin O'Donnell. I think Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson are going to test our secondary, which just recently improved, in my opinion, pretty dramatically. But that was a pretty weak spot of ours last year. A lot of the mid to top tier quarterbacks were able to complete 70-80% of their passes against us. So that's going to be nice to see how week 2 how we can do against what is considered, I think, a mid to top tier quarterback in Kirk Cousins and one of the better receivers in the league in Justin Jefferson. And then on top of that, they still have Dalvin Cook. He's coming back healthy, so Dalvin Cook will test our defensive line. We'll get a good chance to see if our first-round draft pick plays, how well he can block up the middle and go after that quarterback. Week 3, we are at Washington, the Commanders, Sunday, September 25th at 1 p.m. That will be Carson Wentz's first game against the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, his former team. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully he's amped up and we knock him out. I don't want to knock him out of the game, right? But I hope we put some real serious pressure on him and he has a poor game. Chase Young is healthy. He's returning. So we'll have a pretty good test of our offensive line. I think our offensive line is going to be one of the strengths of the team. But we'll find out pretty early on in the season with a Chase Young who has had success against us in the past. And again, our secondary, which was very questionable going into the season last year, will get tested. Wentz, while he isn't necessarily a top tier quarterback, he's not horrible. And so him and McLaurin might give us some fits. So it's going to be great to have him back. To play against Wentz and see him go against him. But it's going to be a test, I think. Week 4, at home again versus Jacksonville, Sunday, October 2nd at 1 p.m. That will be Doug Peterson's return to the link. Doug Peterson is the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And now that Doug Peterson is the coach, they could make a meaningful improvement on last year. And Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, a former quarterback himself, could be successful in improving Trevor Lawrence's game. So this is his second year. And generally speaking, when you think of quarterbacks, they incrementally should make improvements from year 1 to year 2. And then there's generally, from what I understand anyway, the jump is between 2 and 3 if it's going to happen. So we're gonna get to welcome them back. But again, I think that shouldn't be a real difficult game. Week 5, we go travel to Arizona, Sunday, October 9th at 4:25 p.m. They're missing DeAndre Hopkins due to a suspension, so that's a good news for us. He apparently was caught taking performance-enhancing substances. But they did add Marquise Brown, so it's not like they're completely void at receiver. And that would be our first offensive line test with a very mobile quarterback in what I believe will be their starting quarterback, although I know there have been some discussions about his contract. So we'll see how well we can go against a very mobile quarterback, very accurate quarterback as well. So that'll be a test for our secondary. Week 6 at home, one of our second primetime game against Dallas in the Link, Sunday Night Football, October 16th at 8:20. again, another test. Whenever we play the NFC East, regardless of if they're the Giants or Washington, which aren't very good, or they're Dallas, who's a lot better than those two, it's always going to be a tough game. And I think specifically with Dallas, are we going to be able to contain Micah Parsons? Still bummed out that we didn't pick him 2 years ago. But we have to, we have to do well against him, not let him break through the line. So that's going to be a good test for our line. And we're going to be able to see how it can handle a pretty aggressive pass rush. And then again, with Amari Cooper out, Dak is not going to be quite as good, or he hasn't been quite as good historically with Amari Cooper out or not there. How will he do against our secondary? With the new addition of Bradbury, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to shut him down, but you never know. With Amari Cooper, Dak's quarterback rating was 102.9. Without him, it was 86.1. And I probably most Eagles fans remember when they got Amari Cooper, and all of a sudden their offense did extremely well. So let's hope that they retract back to previous form. Week 7 is our bye. A little disappointing that we have such an early bye. I prefer a late bye. Gives us time to get healthy later on in the season and to gear up for a push. But we have a Week 7 bye. Nothing we can do about it, of course. But Week 8, home again against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sunday, October 30th at 1 p.m. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I do not think they're going to have their traditionally successful year. I mean, the Steelers have had, I don't believe they've had a losing season since Mike Tomlin has been coach. But they lost Ben Roethlisberger. They lost Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, cornerback Joe Hayden. So I feel that they're ripe for, their offense is not going to be nearly as powerful as it generally is. In addition, it seems as though their quarterback will be either Mitchell Trubisky or rookie Kenny Pickett. So our secondary defensive line should have a field day. I'm hopeful we get a couple of sacks, a couple of interceptions. I think that should be a win as well. Now, it's not going to be the easiest win. I'm not saying they're going to be a pushover. However, because TJ Watt's going to be healthy, and so he'll be a force on the defense. So our offensive line again will have to show up and protect Jalen Hurts. By the way, we're going to talk about a recent addition. I feel like this year is, and I don't think I'm alone in this, is 100% Jalen Hurts' year. Our success is going to hinge 100% on him. Of course, it generally does with in the NFL, but I think more so than it has ever, because we've surrounded him with some really great talent on both sides of the ball. Week 9, our third primetime game at Houston, Thursday Night Football, November 3rd, 8:15 p.m. Houston has a new head coach in Lovie Smith. They lost to Shawn Watson, who didn't play last year anyway. They lost Tyrod Taylor in second string and David Johnson. Should be another good day with our secondary versus second-year quarterback Davis Mills, who did well last year, but is still a second-year quarterback. Week 10, we return home for another primetime game, this time against Washington. Monday Night Football, November 14th, 8:15 p.m. This is Carson Wentz comes back again, but this time he comes back to the link. And I certainly hope we give him we boo the shit out of him. I don't know if we want to boo him, right? Because we did benefit from the trade and we're doing better. But anyway, Week 11 at Indianapolis, Sunday, November 20th, 1 p.m. They're going to be tougher than I think they would have been last year or in previous years. They added quarterback Matt Ryan, who may rejuvenate his career. They added corner Stephon Gilmore and former Eagles safety Rodney McLeod. So they still have Michael Pittman and 2021 leading rusher Jonathan Taylor. Big test for our defense with that type of an offense. But again, and I think that might be a struggle for us. Week 12, we return home against the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football, November 27th, 8:20 p.m. Green Bay's always tough. As long as they have quarterback Aaron Rodgers, MVP quarterback Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be tough, and that's going to be a big test of our secondary. They added Sammy Watkins, who I think is a great receiver. I was hoping we would have added him a few years ago, but they did lose Devontae Adams. Week 13 at home again versus the Tennessee Titans. Sunday, December 4th at 1 p.m. They added tight end Austin Hooper. I'm hopeful that Nakobe Dean is starting or playing meaningful time by then. I think tight ends are going to be a struggle for our current linebackers, but Nakobe Dean with his speed and ability to cover, should be able to cover him well. This will also be AJ Brown's first game against his former team, the Titans. They did lost Julio Jones, but they still have Derrick Henry. We'll see how Jordan Davis does in defensive tackle. Again, I assume he's going to start or get meaningful playing time. So we'll see how he can clog up the middle. Right. Week 14 at the Giants, Sunday, December 11th, 1 p.m. They have a new head coach, Brian Daboll. They added Tyrod Taylor, running back Mike Breda, but they lost James Bradbury and Jabril Peppers. Daniel Jones is still their quarterback, so there's no significant concern, right? He's not a real strong quarterback. But again, they're an NFC East opponent, and I don't think they're going to go down without swinging. The other thing that they consider about the Giants is Saquon Barkley. 2 years removed from his injury, most likely isn't thinking about it anymore. As someone who has had knee injuries, the first year back, you're always thinking about it, and slowly you gain confidence and forget that you injured it. Year 2 back, you completely forget that it ever happened. So this could be a big year for Saquon Barkley. So again, defensive line is going to be tested. Week 15 at Chicago, Sunday, December 18th, 1 p.m. They also have a new head coach in Matt Eberflus, I think it was. They did lose their running back Tariq Cohen, wide receiver Allen Robinson, and linebacker Khalil Mack. Justin Fields is mobile, another test for our defensive line, and we'll see how Jordan Davis is able to track him down. And he may make that second-year leap that I was talking about, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. Week 16 at Dallas, Saturday, December 24th, Christmas Eve at 4:25 p.m. Week 17 at home against the New Orleans Saints, Sunday, January 1st, New Year's Day at 1 p.m. They also have a new head coach in Dennis Allen. They did lose Malcolm Jenkins. Jameis Winston is their head quarterback, and he was 7-2 last year, but only completed 59% of his passes. If you remember, in 2019, Jameis Winston led the league in attempts with 626, led the league in passing yards with 109, led the league in passing yards per game with 319, but also led the league in interceptions with 30. So while he threw a ton of yards, he was made a lot of mistakes. And I believe this is a great opportunity for our defensive line to pressure him, make more, cause turnovers. I think that'll be a win. They still do have some weapons, though, so they're not going to be a pushover. Still have Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Michael Thomas, and of course, Marshawn Lattimore. Last game of the season, Week 18 against the Giants at home. We're not sure exactly what day or time, either Saturday or Sunday, this January 7th or 8th, time to be determined. And we'll see. And again, we went over what they're able to do, right? So this is the third year in a row we begin the season in away game. That's the longest streak since 2011 through 2013. For the first 13 weeks, we have no back-to-back away games, which is great. We close the season out with 2 home games. That's good. This is our earliest bye week. Again, I'm not a fan of early bye weeks. The last time we had a bye this early was 2016, and that was week 4. The Giants and the Cowgirls have their bye week in week 9, and the Washington Commies have their bye week on the week 14. Primetime games. There's 13 teams in the NFL that have 5 primetime games this year. We're one of them. The Cowgirls are one. Cincinnati, the Chargers, the Rams. The Rams, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, San Francisco, New Orleans. New England, Pittsburgh, Denver, and Kansas City. This is the most primetime games we've had in a season since 2018. Since 2000, the Eagles have been in the second most primetime games compared to other teams. That's 94. Unfortunately, the team that has had the most is the Cowgirls. They've had 100. And speaking of the Cowgirls, we've played them in primetime every season since 2007. One exception, 2014, we played them for Thanksgiving, but it's not a primetime game, but it is a nationally televised game. 4 teams have 4 primetime games. That's Tennessee, Indianapolis, Las Vegas, and Arizona. 3 teams have 3 primetime games. That's Chicago, New Orleans, and Baltimore. 5 teams have 2 primetime games. That's Cleveland, Washington, Miami, Seattle, and Minnesota. 6 teams only have 1 primetime game. The Jets, the Giants, Houston, Jacksonville, Carolina, Atlanta. And one team in the NFL doesn't have a single primetime game, and that is the Detroit Lions. Now that we know the schedule, we know the strength of schedule. There were some rumors about that as well beforehand. The NFC East has the 4 easiest schedules based on winning their opponent's winning percentage last year. Philadelphia, we are third easiest at a opponent winning percentage of .464. The Cowgirls in Washington tied for the easiest at .462. The Giants have the 4th easiest at .465, and the LA Rams have the hardest at .567. And then continuing our countdown, that Sunday, February 12th, 2023 is Super Bowl 57 at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. All right, let's do a quick draft recap. We're not going to go over any of the we're not going to detail any of the draft recaps because we did the schedule release. We're going to do that next week. But we did begin the draft with a major trade. Just to recap, we gave them the 16th, 19th, and 6th round, 194th overall in 2022, and we got the 18th overall, 3rd round, 101st, 7th round, 237th in 2022, and we got a 2023 first round pick and a 2024 second round pick. We then traded picks 15, 124, 162, and 166 to the Texans for the 13th overall pick. And with that 13th overall pick, we chose defensive tackle Jordan Davis from Georgia. I'm expecting to see significant time from him, and he did sign his rookie contract. We traded the 18th and 101st overall picks to Tennessee for wide receiver A.J. Brown. We had for the second round, 51st overall pick, we chose center Cam Jurgens from Nebraska, who as of today is the last rookie to have not signed his contract. We signed 3rd round, 83rd overall pick linebacker Nakobe Dean from Georgia. The 6th round, 181st overall, we selected linebacker Kyron Johnson from Kansas. The 6th round, 198th overall, we selected tight end Grant Calcutta from SMU. And then there was a host of undrafted rookie free agent signings. Josh Blackwell from corner from Duke, Reed Blandenship, a safety from Middle Tennessee State, Kennedy Brooks, running back from Oklahoma, Britton Covey, a wide receiver from Utah, William Dunkel, an offensive line from San Diego State, Noah Ellis, a defensive tackle from Idaho, Ali Fayyad, a linebacker from Western Michigan, Mario Goodrich, a corner from Clemson, Josh Jobe, corner from Alabama, Josh Sills, offensive lineman from Oklahoma State, Carson Strong, a quarterback from Nevada, the only player to have received any feedback from Nick Sirianni in rookie minicamp. Good feedback that he's got a big arm and sharp, and he knows where to go with the ball. And then Jared Williams, offensive lineman from Miami. All right, so let's move to some roster moves. We signed wide receiver Carrick Wheatfall, a rookie from Fresno State. He's the only player that actually tried out. He wasn't during rookie minicamp that we've signed so far. There were a couple other people that tried out, specifically a tall former basketball player that tried out for tight end, and I haven't heard anything else about him. And we did sign, and this is a big signing that I'm extremely excited about, James Bradbury, the corner from New York Giants. He's going to significantly upgrade our secondary. So with that signing, if I think about 2 years ago, all the pieces that were missing, I wanted a big physical wide receiver. We got that in A.J. Brown. I wanted a linebacker who could, put some pressure on quarterbacks. I had hoped for Micah Parsons, but we got Hassan Reddick. I was looking for a better corner, and we got that in James Bradbury. So we've really solidified our all the positions that I thought we had some strong deficits at. Really, the only missing piece right now is safety. And while I believe that is a significant piece of the puzzle, it's nice to know that everything else is covered. So again, I go back to my theory that this is all about Jalen Hurts this year, and realistically, with I think we have 2 first-round picks in next year's draft. If for some reason it doesn't turn out, hopefully we have a good draft as far as quarterbacks are concerned, and we're able to replace them. But we'll see. Moving to a little bit of NFL news, starting in 2023, they will finally include Monday Night Football will finally include flex scheduling from weeks 14 to 18, and will also feature 3 Monday Night Football doubleheaders. In addition, I think next year, currently Fox airs all of the NFC games, and CBS, I believe, airs all of the AFC games, and that will change next year. Apparently, it's a free for all. They can choose whatever games they want to play. It's not going to be tied to the division. All right, that was a quick episode. We're already at the world famous bald eagle fact. So this episode, we're going to go over the Eagles' 10th year in the NFL, which was the 1942 season. That year, the head coach was Greasy Neal. It was his second year as a head coach. Home field was Shibe Park. We held training camp at the High School Bowl in Two Rivers, Wisconsin, which is about 50 miles southeast of Green Bay. And the reason we held it there is because we had our first game against the Green Bay Packers. So we wanted to be in the area for that first game. For the NFL draft in 1942, there were 20 rounds. Each team got 1 pick in each round. We had the 3rd pick in each of the 20 rounds, but none of our picks made it to the Pro Bowl or the Hall of Fame. So we didn't pick any real successful players. We were part of the NFL Eastern Division, which contained the Brooklyn Dodgers, the New York Giants, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Washington Redskins. It was an 11-game, 12-week season, and only 3 of those games were versus non-NFL Eastern Division opponents. And those were the Cleveland Rams, the Chicago Bears, and the Green Bay Packers. The roster included 1942 Pro Bowl players Len Barnum, back from West Virginia Wesleyan, Enio Conti, a guard from Arkansas, Bosh Pritchard, a halfback from Georgia Tech, and Tommy Thompson, a quarterback and a corner from Tulsa. We began the season on a positive note. We beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh 24-14, but we then lost the next 8 games. 2 of those games were shutouts. The Steelers came back and beat us at home 14-0, October 18th, and then the Giants beat us at home 14-0, November 8th. The largest attendance that year was 32,658 fans at the Washington Redskins on November 1st, a game we lost 30-27. Throughout that season, we scored a total of 134 points, which was 7th in the league. 7th doesn't sound too bad right now, but back then there were only 10 teams in the NFL. We also gave up 239 points as a defense. That was 9th in the league, again, out of 10. Our offense was ranked 5th in yards with 2,505. Our defense ranked 6th, giving up 2,958. And we gave up a league worst 20 touchdowns. Not a good year for the Eagles, 1942. Tommy Thompson was our starting quarterback, also was a corner. As a quarterback, he completed 95 of 203 passes, which is 46.8% for 1,410 yards. He had 8 touchdowns and 16 interceptions, and he had 128.2 passing yards per game for an amazing quarterback rating of 50.3. Would be horrible in today's NFL, but back then, passing was perceived differently than it is now. He also led the team as a corner in defensive interceptions with 4. And that's why he went to the Pro Bowl that year. Our leading rusher that year was Bob Davis. He had 43 rushes for 207 yards, which is an average of 4.8 per carry, and 2 touchdowns. He also returned 10 punts for 84 yards and 9 kickoffs for 140 yards. Our leading receiver was Fred Meyer. He had 16 receptions for 324 yards. That's a 20.3 average, and he had 1 touchdown. We ended up the season with an last in the NFL Eastern Division with a record of 2-9, which was a half game worse than we were the previous year. The previous year we were 2-8-1. In our NFL Eastern Division, the Washington Redskins led the league 10-1. Pittsburgh Steelers were second, 7-4. The New York Giants were 5-1, and the Brooklyn Dodgers were 3-8. And for the 10th season, which was our 10th season in the NFL, we failed to make the playoffs. So we have not made the playoffs through the first 10 seasons in the NFL. All right, that is your bald eagle fact. I know it was a quick show. They're going to be quick shows until the season starts. But we'll see you again next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Do me a favor. Check out wrong one. Check out all of our shows on Philly Sports Alliance. On Mondays at 6, we have the football Smack Talk show featuring Ryan Reese and Eric Ward. They talk all football, but of course we love Philadelphia sports, so they focus more on the Eagles. Mondays at 7:30, the Diamond Club podcast. All Phillies podcast featuring John Hunter, Chris Lahiff, and Danny Hart. Tuesdays at 6:30, the Philly Broadcast. That's a 4-sport Philly sports team show featuring Ryan Reese and Ryan Finneran. Of course, generally Wednesdays at 6 p.m., you're watching the Bald Eagle podcast for all Philadelphia Eagles news. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. after my show, Mike's Mixed Sports, featuring a football podcast featuring Eric Ward and Jay Landry. Thursdays at 5:30, Tendies on Pattison, an all-flyer show featuring Paul Baccio, Jack Griffin, and Chris Lahiff. And last but not least, Thursdays at 7 p.m., Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. That is a wrestling podcast featuring Eric Ward and Joe Barry. We've partnered with a couple of people, so you might want to check them out as well. The Painted Lines, we partnered with them. They're a sports podcast show. We stream on their YouTube. And we've partnered with Six Packs Coverage, a national media company that's in Tennessee. And they have podcasts not only about all sports, but about fitness, travel, food, finance. It's a great site, so take a look at that. All right, that is it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Go Eagles.